It's Wednesday, October 26th, and that means it's time for another awesome, electric episode of Ekeler's Edge. Joining me, obviously, is LA Chargers running back Austin Ekeler. Austin, my guy, how we doing, buddy?
Matt, running it back, man. I don't even see this point of the season. I don't even know what week it is. It's just the next week. You know, when you get to the swing of things, the wheel goes around, stuff starts to get repetitive. But I always look forward to this show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, it seems like the show is like so far in between. Like I'm like, dang, we did the last episode a long time ago, but really it was only a week. I don't know.
Let me tell you what, buddy, you're 100% right about this show and all shows. It's like, oh my God, we talked about that. We did the CMC trade reaction. We're going to talk about that a little bit with you today. We did that like as an add-on episode to Thursday's podcast last week that came out on Friday. Like all these dates flying around. I'm like, that CMC trade feels like 1,000 years ago at this point. It was only last Thursday.
Right, man. I think it's just the overload of content nowadays, right? So it seems like that's so far back as far as the content that I've brought in not just in football, but in the world in general. So wow, I just kind of wanted to see if you felt the same way. So
well, I do feel the same way, and you do a lot of. I mean, you do this show with us every week, and you do other shows as well. I'm sure I do a couple other shows as well, in addition to Ekeler's Edge, to the Yahoo Fantasy show. I mean, so many stuff to this point that you probably feel the same way, where it's like, I know I said this somewhere, but I could not tell you what show or what episode I said it on. So at some point I said this thing, go back and find it. I don't know. You probably feel the same way too.
Exactly. Well, let's continue to add to the content overload out there, and hopefully get some good value to everyone listening.
Yes, let's do that. Before we do, I do want to give you a chance to pump any of your giveaways. I know you're on a bye week this week, but nevertheless, I'm sure you're still doing a lot over there.
Yeah, so we're on the bye week, but none of my giveaways change. We're still giving away a jersey. If you have me on your fantasy team, you can enter by showing proof on Instagram or Twitter by tagging me in a screenshot of your fantasy team for the week. And so, yeah, we continue to give away 2 signed jerseys every single week, and during the bye week will be no different.
Love it. All right. Let's jump into some big news headlines before we jump into your game last week, starting with how much you caught some of the highlights from that Patriots Bears game last night, right? The Monday Night Football game, man. That was a wild one, a little bit more exciting, I think, than people expected.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what happened because I just usually watch the YouTube highlight after games. And so I saw something with the quarterbacks going on. For the Patriots, I don't know if you can fill me in on that a little bit more. They're just going back and forth, taking them in and out or something like that.
A little something went on. Yeah, that's one way to put it. So basically, Mac Jones has missed the 2 previous games coming into this week. Meanwhile, he's missed the last 3 games. They took the Packers to overtime. Originally, they had started, Brian Hoyer, who's been with the team forever. But this rookie, Bailey Zappi, comes in, takes the Packers to overtime, almost beats them, then wins his last 2 games. So, of course, now, everybody's like, oh, this guy Bailey Zappi, what's going on with him? Like, yeah. I mean, it was insane, Austin, watching the game last night. This crowd is just cheering their ass off for Bailey Zappi. They just drafted Mac Jones in the first round last year. Obviously, I think Patriots fans have a little bit of history with a low drafted quarterback coming in and taking a higher pedigrees guy job. So I'm sure that's in the back of their mind. They're like, oh, maybe it's the next Tom Brady. But it was insane to me that they're, like I said, they're chanting Bailey Zappi's name over and over again.
Yeah.
Mac Jones throws 1 pick. Bill Belichick pulls him. Bailey Zappi gets in there, and the offense
that place probably erupted. Dude, oh my God.
It erupted. And then, of course, like Bailey Zappi comes in, they get like a wide open wheel route to Ramondre Stevenson come out of the backfield, and then they throw what's essentially he almost missed the throw, but Jacoby Myers makes a great catch wide open for a touchdown. Obviously, the offense then the spark eventually wore off, but it was an immediate spark. I'm just kind of curious, what's your reaction to a team that Bill Belichick said after the game, like, well, we plan to play both quarterbacks. Just seems a little weird to me, though.
Yeah. I don't know, because you really never know what's going on in the coach's, I guess, scheme. when it comes to who's playing, who's not. Maybe you can get an idea, but I feel like it's really a feel by them. It's like, okay, if Zach's playing well, we're gonna keep him in. If not, then we can bring in this other guy, Zappy, who apparently was the crowd favorite. And that's another thing that cracks me up is crowds, man. Like, we spent all this time, putting ourselves into situations where we feel like we're gonna have the best chance to win. But no matter what, if the crowd feels away, you're gonna feel it out there. And that has some energy, like regardless, if you're going to actually, act on it or not. More times than not, you're not acting because the crowd says something. But I think it's just funny, crowd knowledge, and crowd, the crowd getting involved. I think it's really funny, even sometimes when it's on the negative side where the people are booing, like people are booing us. Like if we had a bad game, like, are you guys our fans or not? Like,
yeah.
But anyway, going back to that, I think that's a tough situation to be in with two quarterbacks going in. Obviously, they've had success with Zappy, so like, let's try it out. If Zach's not working out, if he's coming back off an injury, maybe let him try to get his feet wet, see if he's ready to get back in the swing of things. But seems like they didn't feel like he was, and so Zappy stepped up. They got the win, right?
No, they ended up.
No, who it
was the Bears.
See, I just watched the highlight. I literally did not. Yeah, the Bears. Yeah.
Cool. So I think the thing that stood out to me, and I'm glad you brought up the crowd noise part of it, was because, like, for Mac Jones, if he goes back out there, after they are.
Oh, I said Zach. Hang on, I said Zach Wilson, didn't I? I meant Mac Jones.
You said Zach, but
okay.
They probably
Jones,
cut around that. But
Mac Jones.
Regardless, like, if Mac Jones goes back out there, they're gonna boo him, and that's like, for a psyche of a guy, that's got to be tough too, So I just think it's always weird when teams try to juggle the quarterback position specifically, because, and Belichick said after the game, like, it's a hypothetical question. He said that this morning, right? Like, Mac Jones is not healthy, so that's why we're kind of doing this. So it'll be a fun story to track. But you've obviously never been in a situation where the guys are juggling like that. I just think it's always weird when teams do that with quarterbacks, especially two young guys. Like Mac Jones last year was by far the most successful rookie quarterback of that bunch. And then he's the first one to get like outright benched in the middle of the game. It just seems very strange. But you said, we don't know what's going on.
You said it's gonna be fun to follow. I feel like it's unpleasant to follow from a player's side. I'm just like, just going in and being in that situation, man. It's like, who's the quarterback? Is it you? Are you gonna be all right? Like, going through that. We're human, right? Like, we feel the emotion of that. We feel the pressure from the organizations. Like, hey, like, we're looking for you guys to see who's going to step up, especially at the quarterback position, where it's not really typical for people to get swapped in and out. I hope they just are able to stay together regardless, and that comes down to guys' personalities and guys putting their ego aside and just trying to do the betterment for themselves, that hopefully will help the team in the best possible way. So that'll be interesting, I'll say, to follow.
Yeah, I'm glad, honestly, that's why you're on the show, to give like the player's perspective, because as an outsider, like, wow, what an interesting, like, crazy story. But for the actual human beings, it's got to be so uncomfortable. Other guys in the locker too, because you don't want to. If you were in that situation, I'm sure you don't want to go out there and be like, hey, I like this guy better than the other. You can't say something like that. But everybody's it's crazy, man. So we'll move on from that one. We'll continue to track that story throughout the rest of the year. We got a couple big running back trades, since we've last.
Yeah, man. What the heck?
we got a big one last night, and I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this, because we've talked about James Robinson before. You've played James Robinson this year. You talked about him as one of those squatty body guys.
Yeah,
he gets traded to the Jets after Breece Hall has a season-ending injury, which sucks, because we've talked about him on the show. He's been balling out this year, but Robinson's a good back. I'm kind of surprised. I taped like an instant reaction, little add-on to the podcast last night. My thing is, like, I'm kind of surprised the Jaguars traded him, because he's a good depth piece. But I think and this is the part I wanted to get your thoughts on. Just one, like, Robinson in general, good player. Obviously, for the Jets' perspective, you want to add more good players to your team, especially when you're winning right now.
Yeah. For this one, I think it probably came down to the value. Do you know the exact trade details as far as what?
It's a 6th-round pick. It's a conditional 6th-round pick that can become a 5th-round pick if he rushes for 600 yards, which he's already kind of well on his way to 600 yards this season, which count, like, the yards with the Jaguars count to that. So, I mean, at best, the Jags get a 5th-round pick out of this.
Ooh. Ooh. James, man, that guy's, man, he's been so solid. He's just been reliable, I feel like, for the Jags. So for a 5th round, I don't know. I would be salty. I mean, just in general, like a 5th-round pick for what he's done over there, especially, last year and then, starting out in this year. But I get it. They have, Travis, who's been playing really well right now.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned the depth there, which, maybe the Jags felt like, okay, now we have some value that we feel like, hey, we're going to have within Travis. So let's try to, gain some more value with James, who was undrafted, right? So I guess from that standpoint for the organization, I can see how they could maybe see that they're adding value, especially him coming up on some type of contract this next year, because when you're undrafted, you only sign a 3-year. So maybe that has some implications into it as well. Trying to keep the running backs young and cheap tends to be a thing in the NFL with running backs.
Yes,
just because of the injury factor that plays into it. So yeah, I think it was a good move for the Jets though, because Breece Hall, he was basically, I think, the motor of that offense. Like he was cranking runs, every single Sunday. He's out there getting it done, getting in the end zone. Unfortunate for him, but I think James Robinson's going to do his best to try to fill that spot. And the Jets got a good thing going right now, so they're trying to keep that momentum going. So they went out and found someone that they feel like can be reliable in their backfield. I think they found it with James Robinson for sure.
And the Jets have another good back in the backfield already in Michael Carter, who played well as a rookie last year. And I think this is the part I was really curious to get your thoughts on. The Jets are one of the only teams this year, despite, ironically, talk from Mike LaFleur, their offensive coordinator, is brothers with Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, who there was all this talk in the offseason. We're going to get A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones on the field together, right? They're both going to be, on the field together, these big-time packages, all that. That hasn't really materialized so much in their offense for whatever reason, but it has materialized with the Jets offense. Like Breece Hall, Michael Carter have been on the field together a ton, and those plays have been really, really successful for Michael Carter, sometimes for Breece Hall. It's just been working out for the offense in general. That seems to me like another reason to make this trade, because you want these two backs in the field together. Why is it so hard, seemingly from the outside, for teams to put these packages together where two backs are on the field firing off at the same time?
I would say, man, it just depends on your personnel, really. If you have some running backs that can be dynamic and catch the ball, can run routes, then you can definitely get that package on the field. Or if you just have one, I remember like with me and then Melvin Gordon, right? It was kind of like that where we would put us both on the field and I would be out like maybe in the slot or in the backfield, or I was running a route, right? I was the pass option. Melvin was the run option. So I think it depends on your personnel as far as, okay, like, can you actually run these types of plays? Do you have a back that can do that? And then on top of it, it comes down to just the scheme of the coordinator, right? Like, is the coordinator actually buying into, that type of scheme? Is that they feel like that's the best option? They might have said something, but actions have to actually happen. Or if you just say stuff, people can talk all they want. Coaches do it sometimes, or it's just like they're just giving people some type of media coverage, and it's like, did that actually play out? No. And so that's reality. That's reality of life. And so if people are talking a game and they're not putting it on the field, then it's okay. It's not a reality. Let's wait and see. If you show me that that's what you're going to do, then that gives you credibility of, okay, yeah, now I see the connection where you said you were actually going to do that. But in scenarios like that, then yeah, absolutely. So if they're going to bring, James in, they're going to keep that two back set. Makes sense. I also think that, they've had so much success running the ball, which is why I think they've, been so good as far as just down the stretch here. So I think they're trying to bring in more depth to continue that. And so they don't, pound, Michael Carter into the ground.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? They've been able to keep Breece Hall fresh because they got Michael Carter around. They want to keep Michael Carter fresh. So that's why they're bringing a guy like James Robinson, who is good in the passing game. And Michael Carter's good in the passing game. Neither of them are quite as explosive as Breece Hall is, like out in the open field, all that type of stuff. But both those guys are reliable. I like the trade a lot for the Jets. It just I feel like it sends a message to the locker room too, that like, hey, we're still, I know this is a big injury, but like we're still pushing for this thing, and nobody expected us to be 5-2. But here we are, man. And I think players got to love that too.
I'm excited for it, man, as an organization that, they went through it last year, trying to get on track, and now they've turned it around for themselves. So for me, as a fan of football, I would say, I'm excited for the Jets, what they have going on so far.
Last year, dude, the Jets have been going through it for quite some time.
You're right.
Here.
You're right.
All right, let's move on to Christian McCaffrey, who traded to the 49ers. Thoughts on Christian McCaffrey going to, this is a big talk about like a big package to give up for a running back. This was a lot of draft picks to give up for Christian McCaffrey. The Niners clearly view themselves as they're in this championship window. The Panthers are obviously on the other end of that. That's why they ship off McCaffrey. But thoughts on Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers, what he might bring to that team?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see him in a new scheme, actually. We'll see how it goes. He's such a dynamic player. I think any team he's going to have success, right? You just find ways to get the ball in his hands. But pairing him up with some of the playmakers that they have over there in San Fran is going to be it's going to be fun to watch. I think once he obviously learns the offense and gets more implemented into what they have going on over there, and then for the Panthers, they're definitely in a rebuild phase. Like there ain't no doubt about that. Like Robbie Anderson's gone, traded him because of all that sideline stuff, and then now Christian's gone for all those draft picks. So yeah, they gave up, I think 49ers gave up a ton of value. But like you said, they feel like they're in that window. So that's where you're like, hey, you push forward for the now. And then you'll deal with, giving up that value later on. But hopefully Christian, has a few more years so he can actually play out the value that they give him, which, I think he will. I think because, here's the thing. He's had some injuries, but it's actually saved his body too when you think about it. Because when you're injured, like you're not getting hit, right? You're just rehabbing. So I think he still has a lot of mileage left when he's able to put together a full season, which so far he has. So I think it was a fair trade. I think it was fine. Like the dynamic of the player that type he is very rare, right? Mm-hmm. It's very rare. So if he's able to be on the field, he's gonna have a big impact over there. We play them in a couple weeks. I was like, man, I couldn't have waited till after we play. So we're gonna go head to head with C-Mac. This will be the first time I actually play against him, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely be a fun game to talk about. Fun game to watch, of course. I think it's fascinating that Kyle Shanahan, and obviously coming off the coaching tree with his father, like they have been probably the best group over the last 20 plus years at unearthing these hidden gems at running back, like guys like yourself that are undrafted, and pop up and all that type of stuff. And yet Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco has been totally willing to give up huge resources to get peak players at the position. Like they gave Jerick McKinnon, who's obviously not Christian McCaffrey, but heading when he's coming into free agency, they gave him a huge contract. They've traded resources to go up into the third round to get guys who they eventually end up giving up on super fast. Another story for another day. And then they traded this huge package for Christian McCaffrey. But I think a lot of it is probably the versatility that he brings, the rare ability, like you said, because they've done so much creative stuff with Deebo Samuel over the last few years.
Right.
I can't imagine. I wonder how those two specifically will overlap with each other, because Deebo's done some of that wide back stuff that it's been called. And obviously a lot of that is sort of Christian McCaffrey's role as well.
I think it's going to give some relief to those guys, right? It's like Deebo, like the reason they're doing that is because he's so dominant compared to everyone else on the field that, is running those types of plays. And so now you bring in someone that can actually do it, full time. Now it's like, okay, Deebo, you can go back to, catching balls, doing all these crossers, these little screens. We're not asking as much, right? His role, I think, gets more solidified where it's like, Deebo, we need you to be our playmaker all over the field. Now it's like, okay, now we don't. Now we have a couple different playmakers, which, man, if you can get that on any team, is special, because then it's like you're not reliant on Deebo. We need you this game to make it happen for us. Now it's like, hey, Christian might go off, Deebo might go off, Kittle might have a game himself, so it's like when you bring playmakers in, man, that gets me excited just hearing playmakers on the same offense. Even for us, we know with the Chargers, man, we got some guys banged up. And so it's like, gosh, we lose some consistency that we typically have. And so when you have these guys that are playing at a high level, they're healthy, they're playing, it's really exciting.
Yeah, people talk about it on the offensive line when you take a your left tackle gets hurt and you bump your right tackle over to left tackle, well, then it's like he's probably not as good as your left tackle over there. And now you've made two positions weak at once. In a way, with Debo, like he's an A-plus player at wide receiver, and he's probably like an A- player at running back, something like that. But then you've also weakened the wide receiver spot, even though Ayuk is a stud, but like he's a different type of receiver than Debo Samuel is. So I think now it's like you can keep your A-plus player at wide receiver, you can keep your A-plus player in the running back room. You got a really dangerous offense there in San Francisco without all that moving around. All right, let's talk about you guys, man. Let's talk about Seahawks 37, Chargers 23.
Man, we got our ass kicked, man.
A little bit of an ass kicking, yeah.
Yeah. We definitely felt it. It was not a good feeling. We started out the game 17-0 in the first quarter, man. Not capitalizing off of turnovers that we got, turning the ball over ourselves and them capitalizing. What I really think it is for us is we were really one dimensional. We weren't able to get a run game going, and like it puts so much pressure on us on a position that we were banged up in now, because now we got to throw the ball. And guess what? Keenan's played like 20 snaps. He just came back off his hamstring. Josh Palmer was out with a concussion. Our tight ends are beat up still. Parham out with a concussion, or was still out recovering from that. And so we put a lot of pressure on a group that was banging up. That's why I had 12 catches. People, like there's this thing going out like, oh, I'm on record to get like 128 catches. Like it's not a good thing. I should not be catching this many balls, y'all. Like I play running back. I need receivers catching the balls. I need to be running the ball, right? Getting down the field. I can catch a few checkdowns here and there. But for the most part, those need to be going, to our receiving core. So yeah, we're in a place where we have to figure out that dynamic of our offense. I speak pretty much offensively just because that's where I am. That's what I can control and have an impact on. And so, we're sitting at 4-3. So not a terrible spot with 10 games left. But we definitely need to get ourselves in check and get ourselves in a position where we can play to our strengths with our circumstances of our injuries right now. And so for what I would say that is in the run game. Like our run game has to be better. If it's not better, we're going to struggle all season and have these up and down games. So that's what I would say about us as a whole on offense this last weekend.
Yeah, a lot of it, ironically, I feel like comes back to the discussion that we had on the previous show. And I posted the clip of us talking about it on Sunday morning, and then I actually was on a plane during the first half of your guys' game, so I had to rewatch it a little bit later. Rewatch the game, I was like, this feels like a lot of the stuff that we talked about on the show last week. Teams that when you can't get the consistent run game going, it's like then, like you said, Coach Staley brings up, it takes a lot of like nickel and short pass down the field. Like it takes a lot of those paper cuts to beat you. And as much as the folks in fantasy love you catching 12 balls, like you said, those are not most likely going to be explosive plays because they are not going far down the field like it does to wide receivers. And there was just nothing going on downfield yet again. And unfortunately, Mike Williams comes out of this with an injury, and he's kind of been the best downfield guy. It's got to be frustrating, man.
It is, man. It's part of the game, but it's the worst part of the game for sure is the injuries. We got beat up this last game. Lost J.C. Jackson for the season with his injury. You said Mike, who's been, our number one receiver right now, as Keenan's been out. So, Keenan played a little bit. Hopefully he's coming back in, more ready to go now that, he's got some type of play. It's like, okay, are you ready or you're not? We'll see. Yeah. See how that stuff plays out. But yeah, we're in a situation where players got to step up, right? If players don't start stepping up, it's going to be a drag. Like the NFL is not easy, right? And so once you start losing consistency with guys that have been doing it for you for a while and relying on some of these other guys, that's where other guys get opportunities. But if they don't step up in those opportunities, it makes for a long season. And guess what? All we can do is take it one at a time and continue to press and keep trying. Because regardless if we like it or not, we got 10 games, right? With whoever's on the field. And so we take it one at a time, one day at a time. And then, we'll see how it plays out on Sundays. But one thing that I really try to bring to the team is just some type of energy, right? Try to bring a spark, regardless of who it is out there, and just try to be that reliable player as far as leadership, as far as energy, and as far as actually my attitude and mental going out in the field, whether it's practice, weight room, stuff like that. So keeping the boys going because I've been around the block a few times, been through some ups and downs where we went 12-4, seasons where we only won 4 games, and that's how the NFL is, man. Like you're going to go through ups and downs in a season, through your career. But the main thing is that you continue to fight, right? You continue to fight regardless of the circumstances, right? And that goes deeper than football, right? That goes deeper than just, playing, a game, right? That goes into your life, and you continue to push forward, keeps you going. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned, in a winning and losing season. But I'm very thankful for the opportunity to continue to play with the boys, and looking forward to coming out of this bye week and going on this journey.
Hell yeah, dude. I think the people know they can count on you to always bring that energy. You bring energy to the show every single week, no matter win or lose. That's what we talked about in the preseason episode. Like, hey, I'm going to try to bring some energy. You're going to try to bring some energy. We'll figure this thing out. Same thing on the field as well. And, I'm really fascinated because I think so much of it is the chapters within a season. Like I always talk about, like there's going to be times where you guys are in these moments and, maybe by the end of the year, it looks great. By the end of the year, we'll see what happens and we'll keep it moving from there. One last thing before we move on. Ken Walker's performance on the other side. I mean, obviously, you don't want it coming against you. It does come against you. But my God, that guy is really, really, really good. Basically, since Rashad Penny went down for the Seattle Seahawks over the last 2.5 games, pretty much. 49 carries, 348 yards, 7 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns for Ken Walker. What about his running style? Because I think people have talked about this. Makes him look like a really unique back out there.
Man, yeah. I went and told him after the game, I was like, hey, bro, keep doing what you're doing. And I'm a fan. I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm a fan. Good stuff, brother. This guy runs violence. Like he looks like he's like angry when he runs. But he's got that body type to be able to do that, right? A little bigger body type, man, just running through stuff. And then he broke one down and all of a sudden it hit the gas. And I was like, he is still accelerating, like running down our sideline. I was like, oh no. He had I saw like 22 something miles an hour. I was like, yeah, that's
fastest speed so far this season.
I was like,
Breece Hall, actually, the other rookie, is number 2.
I was like, that's definitely a rookie. He still got the fresh legs, running 22 miles an hour. So yeah, that was definitely impressive. But man, yeah, I would say his run style is like, it's not necessarily like, the shiftiest, but it's efficient, right? It's efficient. Like he makes a cut and he's just full speed sprinting out of that thing. There's not much hesitation in his play style. Like wherever he's running, it's full speed, which is exactly what you want out of a back. The more hesitation you can take out of someone's running style, the better, right? The better chance they're gonna have to run through arm tackles. They'll be able to create. They're gonna make fast decisions, get people out of position. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to see him the rest of the year for sure.
Yeah, we've talked about backs and like when you're thinking, when you're hesitating, and you miss those holes, you miss the assignments. But like for a guy like that who's got good vision to just like, there it is, let me hit it. That's exciting to see. And this rookie running back class, again, unfortunately, Breece Hall is no longer a part of it this season. It just looks like there's a ton of good backs that came into the league this year. A ton of good young players, which we love as NFL fans. We love as fantasy fans to continue to watch these guys and everything like that. Man, Ken Walker it's crazy too, Austin, because there's a scenario where Rashad Penny never gets hurt, and we see Ken Walker and we're like, oh, he's good at football, but we don't see this type of production and that like level of play-to-play explosiveness that he brings. And that's just what we were talking about, that sometimes injury creates opportunity. Injury is the one constant theme of the NFL, in addition to chaos. And that guys can step up, and now the Seahawks kind of have like a new identity piece. So I'm sure you guys will find some guys over there on your side as well.
Look, that's how it happened for me too, man. That's how the turnover, I would say that's probably the main turnover factor of the NFL, unfortunately, is people getting injured. Some people stepping up into new roles, whether it was a drafted, undrafted, new signing to the team. And then guess what? Someone gets an opportunity to play a little bit more. And then, now they're actually showing that they're reliable. Now they become some type of, factor in the offense. And that's really how it plays out. Because, I mean, you got to think, there's hundreds of guys, that are done playing after every single season, but you never hear about it really. You never hear about it because I feel like a lot of times it's guys that maybe were injured or getting older, or maybe on the cusp that, were on a team, but then didn't get re-signed. Right. They just didn't get re-signed, not because they didn't want to play anymore. It's because, they went through some type of thing and someone else stepped up, or the team wanted to go in a different direction and maybe try something else. But injury is such a big part of opportunity in the NFL. It's kind of weird to think about, actually. Because that's how it worked for me. I was third string for like the first two weeks when I was playing, and then Brandon Oliver pulled his hamstring, and I started getting more offensive reps. It was like the fourth game of the season, or third game of the season. He pulled his hand, so I started getting more offensive reps. And guess what? I started scoring touchdowns, and I was making tackles on special teams like crazy. And so I got an opportunity, right? And then guess what? You just got to continue to chip away into it, and then you start to build onto a role on the team. So yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see him taking advantage.
People forget how much opportunity is created on special teams. If you're like a young football player out there, like get good and get willing on special teams, because like you can stick doing that. Like there's always one article a year about some draft, like some draft prospect is like, I'm not gonna be playing any special teams. Like then you might not be making the roster. Like let's remember that. So yeah,
exactly.
Remember, folks, ask Austin at yahoosports.com. Send your emails, written or audio or video questions to have Austin answer your burning query on a future episode. This first one up, by the way, I'm like still sick about the Josh Kelly injury. I know that there's a ton of injuries on the Chargers right now. We know that, we just talked about it, but like I'm so upset that as soon as we talked about Josh Kelly on the show, like, and we're both like, hey, you should add him on your fantasy team. It's like, which is the least important part of it, but man, that like he has that injury and he's on IR now. So that's what our first question is about here. Yeah, I know, man. It stinks for JK, like you said, because he was just kind of really solidifying himself as that second back there. But that is what our first question is about here from Adam. Says that now that Joshua Kelly is looking to be out for a few weeks, do you think Isaiah Spiller, another rookie back, will get the call? It seems like the staff has deferred to vets, even outside veterans, considering Michelle came in and was active right away. So wondering what was holding him back from contributing. Isaiah Spiller, another rookie back from this class that has been really shining of late.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting an opportunity. Yeah, he was the guy that he wouldn't dress for games, right? We only dressed 3 backs, and I swear I lose my train of thought every time that thing comes out. Look at that.
I'm sorry, I never know.
Hydrated.
I never know when's the right time to do it, but maybe I should have drank that from the aquarium during the damn ad break. That would have been.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so Joshua Kelly going on IR. Opened up a new spot for running back. We had to bring someone up, to the active, or not to active, but to the dressed. So he's getting his opportunity. And with rookies, there's a lot of different factors that play into playing time. We talked about one, special teams. Another one is just readiness to play mentally, physically. So there's all these factors that come into it. And, he's getting his opportunity, which sometimes, might be overlooked as far as those factors, where it's like, hey, maybe you could play special teams, but, we had a better option. So now we don't. So now you're getting an opportunity to play. And so now you have a chance to show, hey, if you can do it or not and be reliable. And, we'll see how it plays out. I think he only got like 2 reps this last game. But I know that will probably change. I think I played a little bit more probably because it was, right before the bye week. I have no idea. I'm just speculating. That might not have been a factor. Who knows? But yeah, I'm sure he's going to get some more burn. We've played pretty much all 3 of our running backs that we've had up always for every single week. And so, yeah, he's definitely going to get some opportunities. I'm excited to see what he can do because we've seen him in practice and kind of know the type of runner that he is. But we're going to see if it can translate to the actual field. So that's one of those things I'm interested to see. I'm always on him, making sure he's with it, making sure mentally, like, because that's the biggest thing for coaches is coaches want to know they need to be reassured that you know what you're doing on the field, because that's the biggest thing that will actually get you to not play, is that if
For sure.
a coach has uncertainty. And I don't think that's the case with Zay. And I make sure that it's not the case with him, being in my room, make sure I'm always on him, telling him, hey, you got to know, like reminding him all these little things that we make, all these little like reminders in our head. So we know what play, what we have, what we should do. Like for one, just for reference, like we have this play, it's called cash. Let's say, okay, what do we have on the cash? Well, we get our cash on the sideline, so you got a wide route, you got to run wide, like just little tricks like that we help ourselves remember like what route we have on checkdowns and stuff like that. We have like tens of those, like a bunch of them, just to help us. So I think he's ready to play. I think his time was eventually going to come. He was a fourth round pick.
Fourth round, yep.
So fourth round pick. His time was definitely going to eventually come. Teams tend to want to see their draft picks play at some point in the season, whether it's the first year or second year. So this is going to be his opportunity, and I hope he takes advantage. I really do. I really hope he's ready in the time when it comes. He did not have very good reps the first game. He had Corey, our center, lost on 5-yard loss, just unblocked nose tackle, and then his other rep was like a naked where he just ran the other way for like a play action. So I think he'll get a little bit more burn this game, and yeah, I'm hoping he takes off with it.
Yeah, that'll be a really good one to watch, because you've talked about how you want that 1-2 punch. You're kind of developing with JK there, and unfortunately, the injury happens.
I want to keep the competition high, man. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see guys balling, right? Like I want to see guys making plays, like making it so it's like, dang, we got to get like X been going. We got to get Josh in there. Okay, we got to get Sony, like whoever it is, whoever's popping up, like let's get him in there, And so we've seen Sony, we've seen Josh. Now, okay, let's see the young kid. Let's get him in there. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a player to keep in the back of your mind, for kind of that stretch run for fantasy in the playoffs if he is starting to. Because you're right, it's good timing too with the bye week. Like this is a guy that had it was a training camp injury, preseason injury, so he missed some time there. Yeah. So this will be an opportunity to kind of get him a little more onboarded. We know that you're going to take care of that on your end of it. Coaches will take care of it on that end, and he'll take care of his business as well. So definitely a name to keep in mind. Shout out to you, Adam, for bringing that up because that was a good question.
And you brought up a good point. I'll keep it short with that one. But yeah, he was injured. I think he missed a few weeks with his injury during preseason and the very beginning of the season. So that absolutely played a factor into him getting special teams reps, showing what he can do, all of that stuff. So now he's getting another opportunity. Hope he, like I said, takes advantage.
Injuries suck, bro. That's the theme of the podcast so far. Next question up, we've got from Bobby here. I'm gonna try to read this in his enthusiastic voice. I've been a fan of the show for 2 years now, and have owned Austin in fantasy for 3 straight seasons. That's been going well for you. I picked you over Christian McCaffrey at the 1.03 spot this season. My league mates never let me hear the end of it through the first 3 weeks, and I have strummed my air guitar with you ever since week 4. You got that dog in you.
Yeah. Let's go, Bobby.
My question is, going into the bye week, what are some of your favorite activities to do to recover and take a mental rest from the NFL, if you take a mental rest off?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Bobby, man. I love it. I love the energy. And shout out to Matt for reading it like that. That's good stuff. Got me juiced.
Do my best.
But man, so going into the bye week, like for me, my life doesn't really slow down, and that's the way I love it. Like that's where I feel the most comfortable. So it's not that I'm going to take a mental break from football, yes, because there's not football going on. But it's not like I don't feel like I really need it. Like I'm ready to go, but like all my other things start picking up a little bit more. I can catch up on my app that I'm building called Experience. Little plug right here. Make sure you follow Experience _ it's spelled EKSPERIENCE Experience. So like my last name Ekeler, X, right? That's short. I mean, the nickname for it is X. Yeah. So
excellent work there. Excellent branding. I
excellent.
Love that. Excellent.
Yes.
I didn't even think of that. Well done.
Exactly. You can keep going with those. But so now I can catch up on my app. Basically, it's an engagement tool. For influential people like Matt could get on there and you could get like some fantasy football advice or a shout out, or you can have them sign your stuff. The list goes on of all the different things.
Nobody wants me to sign any of their stuff, but I appreciate you bucketing me in there.
You don't know that. You got to get on there. You might be surprised. People want some.
I guess we'll find out.
They'll print out a picture of your face and want it signed by you.
Oh, good.
And how are they going to do that? Well, they got to get on experience, and you got to be on there for them.
I guess, yeah, we'll find out.
You will find out. So yeah, really working on the app. I'll hang out with my girlfriend a little bit more than I've been able to in the past, which is a plus, because during season, man, it's a lot of time away. It's a lot of time in the facility and in this room, chipping away. And then comes down to really just letting the body rest as far as anything physical. Like I'll still go work out. I'll never stop working out. Still got to work in this morning. I'll go in tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. That's just a part of who I am as a person. That's like brushing my teeth for me. Like I have to work out. So I'll keep that going. And then I have, a couple shows will keep going. I'll get a few different interviews, things like that. I'll stay busy. Really, here's how I see it, man. Like I'm in this point in my life where I have a lot of concentrated energy on me, from outside sources. And I want to make sure that I'm consistently putting out effort to capture that and maximize that and try to spread my value, or extract my value that those, different things see in me, and keep putting it out there, right? Keep putting it out there, because I want to use this to be a vehicle for what's next to come for me. Whatever's after football, and and during football as well. And so that's really what it comes down to me. That's, I think, the common theme for me is continuing to extract value from my efforts and, instill that into other people's lives, so that when I'm done playing football, they're like, yeah, I like Austin, not because only he's a football player, because he motivated me, because he, inspired me to work out, because I loved the content that he made. He was funny on a show called Ekeler Dome. Like, just some aspect of my life that you can attach as well, other than football.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you got a lot of stuff going on. That is definitely for sure. And you got a bright future ahead of you, bro. After this whole football thing, that's for sure. I don't know if I ever told you this, but Mina Kimes from ESPN commented on one of the videos I posted from the show. And she's like, love the discussion, all that. By the way, like Austin, if he better be thinking about doing TV after his playing career is over. I was like, well, that's great. You're 100% right. He should be thinking about that, but also I hope he doesn't outgrow my little podcast too quickly. Okay.
No, I like these. I like the more controlled, or less than controlled, I guess, environment. TV is very structured, right? Like there's very specific topics. I feel like you have to be a little bit more careful about what you say, controversy, because
for sure,
like there's a lot more of a spotlight on it, and you're gonna have to be able to defend everything that you say, like, undeniably. Or if you don't, people are gonna criticize you like crazy. I like a little bit more relaxed environment like we have right here, where we can chat it up. It's not as serious, I guess, as far as like people like really like laser focused on what we say to, comment it on and about Twitter or stuff like that. And so, yeah, I appreciate our crew and what we have going on here. So I don't know if I'll get into mainstream. And I think if I ever do get into speaking, I think it would be more so into the motivation, like mindset, like, just into the inspiration genre of content, just because I feel like that's where I'm most passionate about, because I think there's a really deep fulfillment to be found within that part of your life. And that's really what I've been chasing, and trying to help other people is trying to chase them by giving little nuggets here and there of just what's helped me through my past. And so that's really what I love to speak about. And it works great with my life because, it's a big part of playing football, right? And just going through life in general. Like we all have things that we go through, and it's how we go about that usually, determines the success of how we feel we did. So that's where I like to spend my energy, because it's really internal feelings that help you feel fulfilled. And that's really powerful.
No doubt, man. And best part about not being mainstream media, we don't have to wear a suit. That's nice.
Yeah, I get to rock my AC/DC shirt. I can whip out my guitar, right? It's just right here, and just crank something, if I wanted.
There we go. Yeah. So no mainstream media here, no suits. I get to wear the shorts. That's all that really matters. As long as I get to wear shorts doing what I'm doing, that's all that matters. All right.
Yeah.
Last segment of the show here. Well, before that, let me cut back on that. All right. Again, remember, people, ask Austin at yahoosports.com. Get your questions answered by Austin and me. Whatever. We'll move on here. Last segment of the show today. It's Halloween next.
It is
on Monday.
It is. What are you going to be,
Browns,
Matt? What are you being for this year?
So I got to come up with a costume for the show on Sunday. It has to be football related. So I haven't given that one single second of thought.
Football related.
Yeah, like some sort of like football character.
You should be the pylon.
You
should be the pylon, Matt, and they come in a giant orange inflatable pylon.
I could do that. I'll give that some thought. Last year I was Kyle Shanahan, so I just
okay. That you went with like a coach.
Yeah, well, because I was I was a big Brandon Ayuk guy last year. It's not that cool, but I was a big like Brandon Ayuk guy last year. I was big on his like breakout season, and during the whole first part of the year, when he was like kind of in the doghouse there, I was like, I need to become Kyle to channel that energy into like fixing that situation. And hey, you know what? Brandon Ayuk was a big breakout guy in the second half of the year, so I'll take a win on my costume there.
All right.
I was going to be my wife and I were going to be Pikachu and Ash this year, so I got my Ash Ketchum hat. Yeah. Unfortunately, she's got to teach a double at the yoga studio, so on Monday night. So I'm canceling my costume there. Maybe I'll just go as the Ash on the damn FFL show in the morning. Whatever. What about you? You got any costumes coming up?
Well, luckily, my lady is very big into like dressing up and all that stuff, so she has constructed our costumes for us.
Same.
Yes. Yes. Shout out to Mel for getting that done. So I am a pilot. The theme was the what's that
Maverick
movie that just came out?
Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun. It was Top Gun referenced. So nice. We are both pilots, and I have like this fighter jacket that she got from somewhere in her family, and so she got us all decked out. So that's what we'll be rocking to the Chargers Halloween party.
So I don't get an invite to that? What's the deal?
No, did you hear the Chargers Halloween
okay,
party.
Cool.
Yeah,
so no guests available.
Yeah, no guests.
Fine,
it's more of a get together, not necessarily a party, I would say. Just the boys hanging out with all the wives and the girlfriends, and we do sing some karaoke and stuff. Might bring my guitar.
Yeah, bring your guitar, bro. There you go. Love to see it. So in honor of Halloween coming up, we're gonna do a little trick or treat segment here on the show. We're gonna take running backs who kind of like under the radar went off in week 7. We're going to decide if they're going to be a trick, not a consistent producer going forward, or a treat, consistent producer the remainder of the season. Hell of a segment idea
nice.
by the fine folks behind the camera on
Let's
this
go.
one, behind the mic. So first, starting up here, Donta Foreman, running back, Carolina Panthers. Obviously, we talked about they trade Christian McCaffrey away. Gets 17 touches, 145 total yards against the Bucs defense, which is usually really stout against the run. So Austin, we got to decide trick or treat from Donta Foreman there.
I think it's tough because the Panthers are in a situation where I'm like, are you trying to get rid of all your players or what? Like what's going on? They're just trying to accumulate all these draft picks, which is a whole nother conversation, whether you can rebuild in the draft or not.
I would love to have that conversation someday, by the way, because I got a lot of takes, but we'll have a time.
That's interesting. Yes and no, I say. Yes and no. Depends on the position, really. But anyway, look, they're going to rely on him. Like, they're going to rely on Devontae. It was Devontae?
Donta Foreman.
Donta Foreman. They're going to rely on him. Him and who they have,
Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, right? So they have this 2-back set, and they're going up against the Falcons. So I'm going to say treat for this next week against the Falcons.
Yeah, Donta Foreman, too, a guy who's made a comeback from an Achilles injury, usually a tough injury for running backs. And, he's come back finally. And he's looked really good with the Titans last year. I feel like if I'm picking between those two backs still, I think I want Foreman more in fantasy than Hubbard going forward. But Hubbard did get injured at the end of that last game, too. So that's another thing.
Then even more of a treat. Like, Yeah.
That'll be a big old
he's going to have to pull through for his team.
There we go. All right, next guy up who always pulls through whenever he is on the field, Raheem Mostert. 20 touches, 109 total yards, touchdown in week 7 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raheem Mostert's been balling out lately, averaging 4.9 yards per carry since week 4. And he, by the way, Austin, I'm going to go ahead and spoil this one. I think this is going to be a treat going forward because his schedule the next 4 weeks is awesome. He's got games against the Bears, the Browns, the Lions. I think the Texans.
Yeah, they're playing the Lions this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So
definitely treat. Yeah.
That one's easy. He kind of stands out in this crowd as like a guy with a bit more of a resume. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we're a treat on that one.
For sure.
Next guy up, we talked about him with the James Robinson thing. Travis Etienne, 15 touches, 119 total yards, touchdown in week 7 versus the New York Giants. Trick or treat for Travis Etienne going forward.
They're versus the Giants?
They were versus the Giants last week.
They're going against the Broncos this week.
Tough one.
Yeah, tough one for sure. But the Broncos defense is stout. If he's able to run against them, then I will be very impressed. But what do I want to say? Trick or treat. How's he going to do against the Broncos D? I'm going to say trick for this next week. Even though he's been a stud, I think the Broncos defense is going to be stout and hang on. After playing them a couple weeks ago, it's tough sledding in the run game.
Yeah, no doubt. Then they get the Raiders, the Chiefs, the bye week, the Ravens, and the Lions in week 13 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think rest of season, Travis Etienne is probably a treat, but I could see it being a trick. Like there could be talk at the end of that Broncos game, like, why'd they trade James Robinson? They didn't get a good run game, all that stuff. But I do think Etienne is coming on, man. He's looked pretty good lately.
Yeah, he's been a great player. I'm just saying, the rest of October for the trick or treat segment for this upcoming week, I think it's gonna be a tough day.
There you go. All right, another guy here. I'm a big fan of Gus Edwards. 16 touches, 66 total yards, all on the ground. By the way, no receiving work. 2 touchdowns for Gus Edwards. Baltimore Ravens running back. Another guy who's made a big comeback from a serious injury. The last time he played regular season football was January 16th, 2021. It's been a long time since we've seen Gus Edwards. Big comeback for this injury and a big debut this year.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe my feelings, but being a running back for Baltimore is Lamar Jackson's really like the starting running back.
Right,
he's just running everywhere, man. I think he's like fifth. He was like 5th in rushing last week, before last week. And so it's always been strange. And I feel like their running back situation is for the past few years, as long as he's been there, has been kind of strange. Just because Lamar is able to do so much, it's like, if it breaks down, fine. Lamar will just run the ball. So I'm gonna say treat just because of the uncertainty. Depends on if Lamar. Trick. I said treat. I'm gonna say trick just because I feel like Lamar just takes over like he should, because that's the type of player he is, and it definitely affects the running game.
Yeah, I disagree with you a little bit just because I think.
I didn't even look at the matchup. Who are they playing? Who are they playing this week? I got it pulled up over here. Who are the Ravens playing? But you can go.
They're on Thursday. They're on Thursday night. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh, against the Bucks, who just I don't know what's going on over there either with the Bucks.
We don't know what's going on over there.
Oh no. I'm still saying trick for this upcoming week. I still think Lamar is still going to take over. He just does so much. Like I said, man. Okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I just disagree with you a little bit because I think Edwards is I think he is better than some of these backs that they've been cycling, like kind of these veteran guys at the end of the line, whether it's Kenyon Drake, Latavius Murray last year, Mike Davis sometimes this year. I've just always been a big fan of Gus Edwards. I love big backs with balance like that, and especially even if Lamar is typically he actually hasn't been too involved as a goal line runner recently this year, and I think Edwards showed last week that he can be that type of player. So I do think if Edwards is on any waiver wires and fantasy still, come on, you need to go ahead and pick him up. He should be pretty decent. But I can hear your point too about he's never going to get any receiving work, that's for sure, which is super
Right.
valuable in fantasy because like Lamar's not going to check it down. He's just going to take off.
Well, and you bring up the goal line, but I could bring up Mark Andrews, right? Like that's
true.
That's who they're throwing to. They're trying to get him the ball just in general, right? And especially in the red zone. Huge target. So I don't think Mark, he didn't really do much last game, if I'm not mistaken. So
handed the ball off to Lamar last game, which was interesting.
Yeah, see, they put Lamar at running back. You know, can I pick him up as a running back
now? Do not bring up the positional eligibility debates. My God, can't handle that. Last guy here before we close out the show: Eno Benjamin, running back, Arizona, 16 touches, 113 total yards, and a touchdown in Week 7 against the New Orleans Saints. This one I think is complicated.
Yeah. Well, we're going up against the Vikings, and man, because honestly, I've been a little surprised with the Cardinals this year. Obviously, they just got D-Hop back, which is definitely going to help, which has definitely been hurting them. You know, when your number one receiver has been out, it's going to have some type of effect on your team. Now they're going to start getting him the ball more, giving him as some type of deep threat, some type of playmaking ability. But honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea. So for the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say Treat. He's going to ball out against the Vikings and get out there and do something, I guess. We'll see. What do you think, Matt? You got to help me out on that one.
I think Keontae Ingram's a rookie running back they elevated because Darrell Williams is hurt there. James Conner's hurt there. He kind of got the first crack at it, but then Eno sort of came in after, because Eno didn't play that well against the Seahawks a week prior, a defense you just went up against. And then he suddenly got out and actually really balled out in the second half. So I think they might get, when they were controlling that game too, the Arizona Cardinals. So I think they might continue to give him more opportunity. He was really explosive against the Saints last Thursday. So I'm with you. I do think treat for Eno Benjamin, as long as James Conner is banged up. I think they can continue to rely on him.
Awesome. We'll see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to seeing the picture of Matt and a giant pylon. You know, like the video if you can. On YouTube anyway. If you want to see that. Yeah.
Boy.
Make sure in the Ask Austin, we got to ask about how it went.
All right, yeah. Maybe that can be the picture that people apparently want to print out and have me digitally sign.
That would be epic.
It would be epic. It would be pick. I don't know. All right.
Pick. That one doesn't work.
Excellent. I don't know. Whatever. We'll move on. All right. That's going to do it for us. Austin, appreciate it. Fun show today. Enjoy your bye week. You can follow Austin on Twitter or Instagram at Austin Ekeler. You can follow me at Matt Harmon _BYB. And while you're there, for God's sakes, make sure you're following at Yahoo Fantasy. Shout out to Trevor, who runs that handle. His wedding is coming up, so definitely make sure you give at Yahoo Fantasy a follow. That can be your wedding gift to Trevor. I will be back with Dalton Del Don tomorrow for Stat Nerd Thursday. Until then, we're out.